Hi, thanks so much for joining us and welcome to Patient 360. We are going to show you today how our portal works by providing you with a demo. So what you're going to do when you're first ready to log into Patient 360 and utilize our portal is you're going to go right here to our client login. You'll use your username, which is actually your email address and the password that you used when you contracted with Patient 360 and started. You will have selected a password. So you're going to enter your username again, which is your email address and your password. And then you'll be here in our Patient 360 portal. And here you can see it's really easy to navigate. It accommodates a number of practice scenarios. You've got individual providers if you're a solo practitioner, if you're a hospital, if you're a large group with a number of NPIs within your TIN, and also we have a number of entities that work with us that have multiple TINs that they're submitting data for. So the Patient 360 portal accommodates for all of those different scenarios, and it's really easy to use. And this is the page that you're going to see once you've added your group practice and you exist in the Patient 360 portal. You'll see yourself displayed here. The other important thing to remember when you're getting started with Patient 360, and we'll always remind you of this, not to worry, but you want to go over to the reporting section and click on clinic information. This is a really important place to get started. Edit clinic information. You'll see some of your information here already. When you contracted with Patient 360, we'll have the basics in there for you, your address, number of providers and whatnot. But you also want to kind of move through this edit clinic information section to indicate your specific unique scenarios that are related to your TIN. It's really important to do this because scoring is based on your TIN's unique circumstances. So the way CMS scores for MIPS, as you all probably are aware, depending on your circumstances, if you have fewer than 15 providers, if you've got a hardship letter, all these different scenarios impact your score and the calculations of your score under MIPS. So you want to make sure that you're coming here to update this as soon as possible once you're logged into the Patient 360 portal. Also, don't worry, a lot of folks think that once you enter this information, that's it. Not true. You have the entire reporting here. So if something changes, for example, if you change your version of your EHR, like you're on 2015, but it's not Greenway anymore, it's Epic or it's NextGen or something like that, you can come here and you can update that in here. You don't have to worry about submitting clinic changes throughout the reporting year. It's actually not a problem to do that. You just come up, click on edit clinic information, edit whatever it is that you're going to edit. Like let's say, same thing with EHR. If you don't have an EHR and you have a hardship letter, let's say you don't get the hardship letter until July, you can come back in here in July and upload that. Not a problem. And then you would just click submit clinic changes for the update. So that's something that you want to be aware of, that you're always going to kind of pay attention to as time moves on. When you first initially log into the Patient 360 portal, you want to make sure, again, you're going to clinic information, and then throughout the year, if anything changes about your particular TIN and your unique circumstances, you want to come back here and update that. So once you've gotten all your clinic information updated, you're pretty much ready to roll with adding your quality measures. So you really want to think about, and there are other categories. There's the PI category and the improvement activities category, super easy, and I'll touch upon those for a minute later on. But quality is the one that tends to get people the most, a little bit nerved up because there's more involved. And so we're going to walk you through the quality measures because that takes the most time in terms of how to add quality measures. So you just want to go to your TIN and click on it. And then that quality measures tab is already going to be open for you, right? Because we know that takes the longest. So you're going to focus on that first. And here you can see that obviously measures have already been added. But when you want to add a new measure, you just click on add measure. The measures will be available and you click on it and you select. Once you've selected the measures, so you click, like I said, add measure. And only the measures are going to appear when you click on add measure. The ones that are going to come up are the ones that you haven't selected yet. So you're not going to see measure 1 come up here right now because we've already selected it, but you could add 5 if you wanted to. So we'll just go ahead and add 5, right? And you can see it's going to take you to the next screen where, okay, you've added the measure. Now it's time to import encounters, and you would move forward with that. I'll show you that in a minute. Right now, we're going to go back to the actual measures that have been added because I want you to take a look at those. So let's say measure 24. This has data that's already successfully been added, right? So this is an example of a measure that you might choose if you're treating geriatric patients, if you're in primary care, orthopedic, physical therapy. Basically, you can see that this measure has been completed. Check this out up here, right? You got a check mark. You can see your score bar, how you're doing, how you're performing. All the information has basically been added so that you can receive the credit that you need for this measure for CMS. Now, what you want to keep in mind is that the check marks are going to appear when you've met the minimum thresholds and you've completed the requirements, right? And you're avoiding the negative payment adjustment. But keep in mind, if you see spaces on these bars, and we'll show you the scoring engine in a little bit, that means you can actually still score additional points. So this measure goes up to 10 points, and you can always see the measure and the benchmark by clicking here to view the measure and the benchmark. But you can actually get additional points on this measure, and you'll see the more data that you enter. Right now, there's only 44 encounters entered for this measure. But as you move throughout the reporting year and you have thousands of encounters, if this performance rate increases to closer to 100, you can get up to 10 points in this measure. So that's just something important to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind as you're adding measures, some folks know exactly the measures they're going to use because they've been using similar quality measures year over year, which is totally fine. But if you're really brand spanking new to this whole thing and you've got some measures picked out, but not all of them, you're not quite sure, you think you're on the right track, but need a little bit more help, go over to our Learning Center and click on Measures Definitions, and then go ahead and click on the quality measures, and you can use our code selector. And essentially what that is let's say your minimum of measures that you're meant to pick out for the quality category in order to meet the requirements are 6 quality measures. So let's say you've got 4 or 5 picked out, but you have that last lingering measure or 2 measures that you still need to pick. Go ahead and take a look at your most frequently used CPT codes, like the top 25 CPT codes over and over that are being used within your TIN. You can pop them in here, and then what will happen is the code selector will reveal the most applicable relevant measures to your practice based on the CPT codes that you submitted, because those are in the denominator of the actual measure. So this is just a useful tool if you're feeling like I have no idea what measures to pick. Come over to our, again, Learning Center, Measure Definitions, Quality Measures, and utilize that code selector. Very, very helpful. And you can also break the measures down by specialty measure set to see what fits for you as well. So that's just something else to keep in mind. And we showed you information on measure 24, for example. This is a successful, hey, you've completed it, you're doing really well, everything's going A-okay. Also want you to know that the portal does accommodate for, something's not quite going right, because you've got a red an X here. What am I actually doing wrong? So the portal is going to prompt you on that as well. Obviously for this one, and same thing for measure 5 that we just entered, you haven't entered any encounter data yet, right? This TIN has not entered, this test TIN has not added any encounters, so naturally this is going to have a not complete. Nothing's been done yet. These prompts will continue to change throughout the process as you begin to add data. And they're going to tell you, okay, well here, we know we have to add an encounter. It has to be at least one eligible performance not met. That's because this is an inverse measure. Attest that the measure is submitting greater than 60%. So you will see for a while that it's not completed until you attest. And what that means, the 60%, as everybody knows, is the minimum threshold. You've got to submit 60% of your data for each measure, your encounter data. So you want to make sure that you're attesting to that prior to the end of the reporting period. And then, of course, you want to make sure that you're submitting at least 20 encounters on every measure so that they can be scored against the benchmark, because that's really how the scoring engine with CMS works. You have to have enough data for them to be able to calculate a score. So that's important information about how to add measures and sort of what the prompts mean based on measures. Now let's go ahead and take a look at adding encounter data. So let's say for measure 24, we want to go ahead and we've added already 44 encounters, but we want to add more. This is just one of the ways. So there's multiple ways for different TINs to add data. This happens to be a TIN that's utilizing our templates or CSV files. We have folks using QRDA3, some might be using API, depending on how you're entering your data. But there's always going to be a page for you to go to that's going to allow you to import your encounters, whether that be QRDA3, whether it be templates. And right now we're looking at the page that allows you to be able to enter template data. So you would essentially download the measure template, enter all your data into it, drag and drop it here, and then import it. And once you do that, you can see all of that data is displayed here. So once you send in the encounter data, however you send it in, whether it be by template or QRDA3 file, you'll see it displayed on the Patient360 dashboard. What you also want to be aware of is the imports history. So let's say you just kind of want to get a sense of, well, what the heck, what did I import last year in 2018? Or any year for that matter. You can actually go and take a look at reporting on the left menu and your imports history. And you can see okay, what did I import last year and when? What were the successful imports? And even if it failed, it's going to tell you. You can click on the failure. Okay, what did I do wrong? Why did this file not go through? Why did it not import? And in this case, really easy. It was just a mismatch in a tin. So the software is always going to catch if you're submitting files with encounter data on them, something's wrong with that encounter data, the system is going to validate that. And if it doesn't validate it, it's going to fail it. And if it fails it, you can click on the failure to understand exactly what did we do wrong here so that you can fix it and then resubmit. In addition to looking at imports history, obviously we want to take a look at that scoring engine so you can get a sense of, okay, as I'm progressing through with Patient360, how do I know how I'm scoring? How do I know what my score is so far? How are things calculating? How am I performing? How am I doing? So this is the main page for your group demo, right? Where you're looking at your TIN, but then you're going to want to click on Final Score Breakdown. That's going to show you in aggregate at the top. If you're a MIPS intermediate client, you'll see this information. You'll see the basic score. And then if you're a MIPS 360 client, you'll see all of the full breakdown of every single category of what you're scoring and then what you're scoring against the benchmark, any bonus points associated with that or additional quality measures that you may have submitted, right? And then at the end, it's going to tell you what the total quality score is for the quality category. Same thing if you want to break it down for the PI category. You can click on the PI tab and it will show you what you've submitted so far for the PI category, how many points you're earning, what percentage it's worth, and same thing for improvement activities and for bonus points. So this area in aggregate for MIPS and intermediate clients, you'll actually get to see the score breakdown right here on the top. And then for MIPS 360 clients, you'll be able to see an entire breakdown per category of what you're scoring and how you're scoring. So that's really important to pay attention to, the scoring engine, because it's going to, if you're entering your data, as we hope that you will be, which would be bi-weekly or quarterly, monthly, you'll be able to, this is going to update immediately in real time. So as you continue to enter data, hopefully, if you're entering data that's positive with lots of performance met, you'll continue to see this score increase. Another thing to pay attention to, if you're a MIPS 360 client, and a lot of folks are utilizing our analytics now, this is really where things are moving toward. You want to improve your quality of care under MIPS. You want to start improving quality of care over time as well, which is really important. So these analytics tools, if you're a MIPS 360 client, you can actually break everything down and look at, well, how are my providers all scoring against each other within the TIN? There may be one provider struggling with a particular measure. These analytics tools will allow you to be able to see that information clearly and to sort of figure out, well, okay, what are we going to do, some actionable items to be able to change quality here so that we can improve performance for next year, or even in real time. So that's another benefit of getting your data in on a monthly basis allows you to be able to use these analytics to actually make changes in real time so that you can say, oh, well, let's compare how we're doing on our measures. Well, right now we're in the month of May. You have until the end of December to make improvements. So if you see here, okay, well, look at this. Why are we getting only a 66.7%, 66.6% on that particular measure? This allows you to take a look at that and think about now, what actionable items can you create to change behavior, to look at outcomes, to improve quality of care in real time, so that by the time December rolls around, hopefully you can increase the score from a 66 to an 80, which will improve your overall score prior to submission to CMS. So that's really important. That's something to think about. And same thing by group practice for those entities that we have that are submitting data across multiple TINs and they want to compare how those TINs are scoring against each other. Same thing. These are really important analytics tools to be able to use, especially now under MIPS. They're really looking at not just quality of care over time, but improvement over time. So it's not necessarily a terrible thing if you have a measure that, you maybe are only scoring 70 or 80% on this year. But if you're looking at your year-over-year scores and CMS sees improvement over time, say from 2018 to 2019, 2019 to 2020 on a particular measure, you actually get additional bonus points for that. So you're going to get points at the end of the year. Let's say you submitted for measure 24 in 2018 and you scored an 85% on that particular measure, 85%, or 8 points or whatnot, or 7 points, whatever the case may be. But the next year you improved by a point or two. That's actually tracked in our portal, but it's also tracked by CMS, so you will get bonus points for that. So again, think about this program in terms of, yes, you want to increase your performance and you want to get the maximum amount of points you can for the quality measures and all that, but you also want to think about it in terms of the spirit of the program, that CMS wants you to consider improving your quality of care over time and making actionable changes in and adjustments in the quality of care and in what's happening with the patients and improving on the measures. So these are analytics that you're definitely going to want to use as you progress through the program and throughout the year in real time, along with the scoring engine for those MIPS 360 clients. It's a really important thing to consider. And then, of course, the Learning Center. So for those of you that might listen to this demo and then, maybe you don't have time to enter data for a couple of months, and let's face it, we know that MIPS isn't sort of the first thing on everyone's mind every single day. You need to get reacclimated. Definitely come back here to the portal usage tutorials. We will record this one. We are recording it. We have portal usage tutorials from the past. We conduct info sessions all the time, lunch and learn, frequently asked questions. So you're going to be in and out of this Learning Center often. If you need to get reacclimated, you can always go to Getting Started. It's going to tell you exactly where you need to go. So just keep that in mind. And then briefly, for those of you that need to refresh on entering data for the PI measures and the IA measures, just want to let you know it's very similar, but it's a lot easier. So you're not going to have to enter all the encounter data. You're just going to click on the PI measures tab. You add the measure, and then you just answer a couple of questions based on that particular measure that you've chosen for the PI category. And same thing for improvement activities. In this case, you're basically just attesting to the improvement activities. So you want to make sure, unless you have a hardship letter or something like that, that you are entering details on all three categories. We didn't spend as much time on PI and improvement activities, again, because it's so easy. You just click on the tabs and you answer the questions. You don't actually have to upload and counter file data or send through quality measure data. That's for the quality measures category. But you do want to keep in mind when you're looking at your overall score, and I'm going to go back to that one more time as we wrap things up. I want to go back to that overall score and take a look at the scoring engine, at how everything's calculated. Obviously, the quality category is worth the most, yeah? But you still have to take into consideration that these categories, this is worth 25%, and the IA category is worth 15%. So don't skip these categories because you don't feel like doing them. They're not really that hard. And by doing them, you're increasing your score quite a bit, tremendously. If you skip these, it's just 0 for these categories, and then you're only getting scored on the quality category. You'll still pass. You'll still meet the minimum threshold if you're scoring okay in the quality category. The minimum threshold is 30 points for 2019, but you do want to keep in mind that skipping on these categories is not to your benefit. You might as well do all of them so you can get an aggregate score that looks like this. So that's information about how to sort of use the Patient 360 portal. We do encourage you to contact us if you have any questions at all. And again, this Learning Center really is useful. So please do check out the frequently asked questions, and definitely you can go back and listen to this demo anytime. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we look forward to working with you.